Good afternoon, everyone. This is Professor Fidela Balahadja. We are now in week 4 of our lecture, and today we're going to talk about business planning. And of course, before we start with the lecture proper, allow me to discuss to you the lecture learning objectives for this specific topic. At the end of the lecture, you will be able to discuss the importance of a business plan, enumerate the components of a business plan, conduct environmental scanning, design a production plan, determine the financial needs of the proposed business plan, analyze the feasibility of the proposed business plan, and finally, write a business plan. Planning the business to establish. Let us first talk about what planning is so that you will be well guided as to what are the parameters that you're going to do in order for you to establish a business. Planning is the defining of goals for future organizational performance and deciding on the tasks and resources needed to attain them. Applied to manufacturing, it involves planning for product, process, the facility location, the facility layout, and the jobs. Facilities are the location and layout. So for the product planning, just like what I've mentioned, wherein planning is involved into, the product planning involves determining how the product meets customers' needs, how long it takes for the product to make and market, and the total cost to the customer. As regards with the process planning, it deals with determining the specific technologies and procedures required to produce a product or service. The broad definition of product includes service. However, in our discussion in this lecture, the product refers to the physical object of business, whereas service refers to the intangible or non-physical object of business. The third is the facility location planning. It deals with the identification of the place where the manufacturing process will be situated. So, in the facility location planning, the criteria that should serve as guide in facility location planning are proximity or nearness to customers, business climate, total cost, transportation facilities or infrastructure, quality of labor, supplies, location of companies' other facilities, peace and order situation or the peace and order condition, government laws, rules, and regulations, environmental regulation, host community, and the competitive advantage. For the facility layout planning, it involves the placement of departments, workstations, machines, inventory storage within the factory. The objective of facility layout is to ensure a smooth workflow. The factors to consider in facility layout planning are objective or purpose of the system, in terms of output and flexibility. Next is the product and service demand. Another is the number and volume of operations. And lastly, the space availability. And for the last one, we have the job planning or job design. It is the function of specifying work activities of an individual or grouped in an organizational setting. Job planning or job design is to develop job structures that meet the requirements of organizations. Job design satisfies the employee's personal and individual requirements. The areas to consider in job planning or job design are tasks to be done, qualification of worker, physical location, working time, reason for hiring, performance measurement, motivation, and training. What about the ways of promoting sales? Marketing is the activity involved in moving products from the manufacturers to the customers, which is divided into four P's, namely promotion, product, price, and place. Promotion, in its broad definition, means telling the target market about the product. It requires effective communication and involves personal selling and mass selling. Personal selling involves direct communication between sellers and potential buyers. Mass selling, on the other hand, is communicating with a large group of buyers at the same time. The communication with large groups of buyers may be done through advertising or through publicity. Advertising is paid form of presenting the product, while publicity is not paid for. Sales promotion, in its narrow definition, refers to activities that stimulate interest, trial, or purchase by final customers. The objective of promotion are 1. To inform, 2. To persuade, 3. To remind. Here are the different means of advertising, publicity, and sales promotion. For the advertising, we have magazines, newspapers, radio, TV, signs, and the direct mail. As far as the publicity is concerned, we have press conference, talk shows, human interest, write-ups, articles in trade magazines. Sales promotion includes coupons, contests, trade shows, sporting news, samples, catalogs, and flyers. How do we have creative pricing? Notice how creative entrepreneurs increase sales in the pricing of their products. Look around and you will be amazed to hear and see the ways products are priced. For the first example, at the end of the entrance of a Metro Manila residential subdivision, the ambulant vendor of the vegetables has only one price. Everything sells at 10 pesos. A pack of garlic, a pack of onions, a bunch of string beans, a slice of squash, a piece of ampalaya, a pack of tomatoes, among others. The customer shells out 10 pesos, 20 pesos, 30 pesos for her purchase, no bargaining, then heads for home. The prices at multiples of 10 pesos are generally higher than when buying is done in the wet market or in the supermarket. The business has been going on for a long time. Very likely, both seller and buyer are happy with the setup. For the second example, a colorful banner in front of a bakery announces 10 pesos for 12 pieces of any 2 pesos per bread. 2 pesos times 12 pieces is 24 pesos. But if the buyer buys a dozen, he gets a 4 pesos discount. In the third example, in the ground floor of a Makati building, this seller of homemade snack food like macaroons, brownies, puto, kuchinta, pastillas, and the like, packed in styro plates inside transparent plastic bags, sells her product at 3 for 100 pesos. Very seldom would the buyer ask the price of one pack nor buy one pack only. Often, the buyer gives 100 pesos and selects an assortment of 3 packages. The seller does not stay long in one building. She moves from one building to the next. Usually, she comes back only after several weeks. And then for the fourth example, a restaurant where customers eat and would spend 100 pesos to 100 pesos per sitting had this poster that says, Merienda, eat all you can at 75 pesos from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Many customers come at 2 p.m. to avail of the special price. And then lastly, an ophthalmologist charges consultation fee of 600 pesos by appointment only. In a popular hospital, 400 pesos first come first served in his clinic across the hospital, and 200 pesos in a health card clinic not far away. The quality of his consultation does not go up or down in relation to the fees charged. So the question is, how are prices arrived at? What are the factors to consider in setting up prices? Computing selling prices may start with costs or may start with selling price. For example, in the sale of a dozen pandesal. So you have the direct costs, and then you have the materials like flour, salt, sugar, and there is also the indirect costs. You have to also include the rent, and then if you will be having the summation of all of those, you can be able to get the selling price. Another thing is when the seller sells a dozen of pandesal at the controlled price of 2 pesos per piece or at a discounted price of 20 pesos per dozen, he knows that he will be setting the minimum desired profit at 5 pesos per dozen. The profit of 9 pesos or 5 pesos gives the seller flexibility in marking up or marking down the selling prices. The profit is the markup or add on the costs. There are two ways of determining selling prices. The usual way is to start with costs. Add the desired markup to get the selling price. This is the method when the entrepreneur feels that pricing is not very much limited by competition or by the dictates of the customers. The other method is when the price is dictated by the customer, competition, or government regulation. The entrepreneur has to start with the selling price, subtract the desired profit to arrive at the cost of materials, labor, and overhead. The resulting cost of materials, labor, and overhead is called predetermined or standard costs. When the pricing is controlled because of government regulations or because of the prices of competitors, the entrepreneur working on method should see to it that the cost of production does not exceed 15 pesos or else the profit goes down or he may even suffer a loss. He should look around and make sure his materials, labor, and overhead do not exceed 15 pesos. 15 pesos is the should be cost. When the doctor ophthalmologist set the fee at 600 pesos by appointment schedule, he could serve a small number of patients than when the scheduling is on a first come, first serve basis. When the doctor agrees with the health card organization or what we called HMO, the consideration is more on the latter's ability to pay. The health cards charge patients a fixed low price for many varied medical consultations. So they have to negotiate a low price with the doctor. The doctor may also take the service as an outreach or as a way of advertising his services. To the ambulant vegetable vendor and to the harried pedestrian, the convenience of receiving and paying 10 pesos is a major consideration. Same is true for the 3 for 100 price. The 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. time slot is that time when there are very few restaurant customers. To make additional sales, the vendor is willing to get a smaller profit as compared to the regular meals. The examples given are small entrepreneurs. Pricing would be different and may take several factors into consideration. If the product is gasoline, it is because a change in the price of gasoline affects transportation fare, the price of commodities, and the economy as a whole. That is why changes in the price of gasoline are always big news, especially when the change is an increase. The entrepreneur will have to source materials, labor, and overhead at the set peso amounts. The seller may test the pricing by actual selling. He feels the reaction of the customers depending on the response of the buyer. The seller may add more markups or even decline on marking down the prices. The product orders start with a quality product and acceptable price. This involves creating a good image for the product and for the company. For retailers, the store should make the customers buy at first sight. Buying at first sight is the instinctive reaction of customers to buy right away. For the retail outlet, good image include bright store design, signages, display, and unique architectural details to lure customers into the store and make them buy. For the product, good image include product features and packaging designs. Continuing advertisements through word of mouth are very helpful, especially for new business that cannot yet afford expensive advertisement. Whenever possible, the planning should allocate budget for advertising through print, radio, or television. When products have been chosen by the customers, the seller makes the product ready for delivery in bundles that are safe and convenient to handle. The applicable business forms are prepared. These include delivery receipts and sales invoices. When payment is received from the customers, official receipts are prepared and given in exchange for cash received. In retail outlets, a cash register tape is issued by the cashier. The employees should be efficient and courteous in dealing with customers, suppliers, and among themselves. Any tense situation is readily noticeable and may turn off customers. Customers' complaints should be answered properly and promptly. The most common supplier's demand is for payments that should be satisfied within the agreed terms. The physical presence of the operations manager will avoid or shorten delays in addressing day to day problems. It is important to foresee problems even before they arise. As they say, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Since we are already done with creative pricing, let us move into the consumer's evaluation of the purchase process. Buying decisions are influenced by availability of income. Since many customers do not have enough income to buy everything they want to make sure that they make the best buy out of available money. The factors that guide consumers in the purchase process are price, product quality, convenience, and the impact of promotion. Value for money is a valuable guide to the consumer in making a purchase. However, a customer may be willing to buy the product because it is available here and now, even when it is priced higher than one available tomorrow and from a distant place. Product efficiency is another major consideration. A customer may be willing to pay for a new computer ink that is double the price of a refilled, maybe because the former is brighter, darker, and uniform as compared to the latter. However, promotion may sway a customer to buy a product A instead of product B, even when the two are comparable in many aspects. Consumers buy products because of the need or because of want, Needs are the basic forces that motivate a person to do anything. Wants are needs that are learned during a person's life. For example, everyone needs water to drink. However, other wants bottled water to drink. Everyone needs a shelter to live, but others want a house in an exclusive subdivision. The physiological, safety, social, and personal needs of consumers are: for the physiological needs, we have food, drink, rest, and sex. For the safety needs, these are concerned with protection and physical well being. And examples for this are health food, medicine, and exercise. The social needs are concerned with an individual interaction with others, like love, friendship, status, and esteem. And for the personal needs, these are concerned with the need for personal satisfaction, unrelated to what others think or do like. And these are the self esteem, accomplishment, fun, freedom, and relaxation. Moreover, consumers' buying is also largely influenced by attitudes and psychology. Buying is also affected by relations with other people like family, social class, culture, and other groups. The next one is the good location and workplace. Listed in the selection for facility of location planning are the criteria for selecting a site for a business. For a manufacturing business, it is important that it be located in an area where quality labor is abundant. For example, in the manufacture of wooden furniture, the factory may be located in Pampanga, where good furniture makers lived. The other consideration is the availability of raw materials. Producers of cooking oil are located in Laguna, where there is an abundant coconut tree or coconut trees. Factories operated by multinational corporations are located in export processing zones, which we known as the EPSA, in order to avail of tax incentives. Producers of ready-to-eat products locate themselves where the customers are. An example is Julie's Bake Shop. Another consideration is the total cost. There are many cottage industries in Caloocan City as compared to Makati City because of lower rental cost. Nearness to Divisoria, where raw material and supply cost is cheaper, and availability of cheap labor in the vicinity. A good workplace is one that conforms to the standards of the industry and the rules set by the government. For example, in the manufacture of cosmetics, the Bureau of Food and Drug or BFAD requires compliance to good manufacturing practices or GMP. The GMP includes specification as to facilities. In a medical diagnostic laboratory, the Department of Health or DOH specifies, for example, the size of X-ray rooms. The DOH requires that hazardous needles or syringes are disposed of in yellow plastic bags, separate from the other waste from the laboratory. How about the home based business? For varied reasons, the business may be home-based. We see a lot of cottage industries that are home-based. Some entrepreneurs leave their corporate employment to be close to their young children. They put up their home-based businesses with plans of moving to other work sites as their business grow. When the business is home-based, there should be clear physical and time boundaries between the business and the home. The area for business should be identified, and the time for work should be known to workers and clients. The former may be the garage, and the latter may be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Mondays to Saturdays. How can we meet financial requirements? The financial requirements of the business will depend upon the nature of the business and the nature of the product. A direct door to door selling activity, for example, may require a very small capital for the sales agent or trader. The trader buys the product from the supplier or producer of goods on cash or credit basis, sells them also on cash or credit basis. The credit terms are short, so the cash comes in fast and also is paid out to the supplier within short periods. When the retailer needs a physical structure and needs to keep inventory of products, the capital requirement increases. If the entity is to engage in manufacturing, an even bigger capital is needed. The service business may start as personal service of the individual entrepreneur who may only need a home-based office and therefore requires minimal capital. However, as the service entity grows, the cash requirement increases. For certain types of business, laws may require minimum capitalization. The financial plan will consider the cash requirement for. We have the first is the fixed capital. For land building, rental deposits, improvements, machinery, equipment, furniture, and tools. The fixed assets or the fixed capital is for assets that will last for a long period of time. Next is the working capital for day-to-day operations until cash comes in from regular business. The working capital is the cash requirement in the first few months from the formation of business. The third is the organization cost or expense. This is the cost of putting up the legal business entity. The organizational cost or expense is the amount paid to lawyers, accountants, in the writing contracts, agreements, and fees paid to government offices to register the business. And lastly, we have the contingencies or unforeseen costs. This may be estimated amount for reserve for contingencies or unforeseen events. How about the sources of cash? Cash may come from any of the following: the personal money of the entrepreneur, loans from relatives and friends, loans from banks and other lending institutions, investors, government assistance programs, and the non-government organizations or NGO. An entrepreneur should be guided by sound financing rules such as know the cash requirements, know the best terms, know how and when to pay. Owner's investment should be more than the borrowings. If borrowings are needed for fixed assets or working capital, finance fixed assets from long term borrowings. Finance working capital from short term borrowings. The next topic is the Project Feasibility Study or PFS. A feasibility study is an activity designed to find out what is feasible, achievable, attainable, practicable, or workable. In the graduate schools of business, project feasibility studies are among the standard course requirements. While in many colleges of business, project feasibility studies are among the requirements for graduation. Why is there much importance attached to feasibility studies? It is because the feasibility study tells the business person if the business project is worth pursuing. Some businessmen, especially those with academic training in making feasibility studies, make studies for their own business. Others would engage the services of those trained to prepare project feasibility studies. This person is usually referred to as a business consultant or an expert in preparing project feasibility studies. A business consultant preparing a study needs to ask a series of questions addressed to the client. Primary information is the product that the business person will deal in. So, project feasibility studies are needed by management, investors, lenders, and the government agencies. Let us thoroughly talk about why these are being needed by these parties. Management need feasibility studies when they have to decide on new products or when they have excess funds to invest. Investors like top management in number one would want to put in money where the rate of return is high. Such rates of return may not be limited to financial rate of return. They may also emphasize environment and social outreach. Lenders need to know if the borrowers are capable of paying the loans that will be granted to them. Government agencies need to know the details of government projects before funds are released. What about the parts of the feasibility study? Of course, we have the executive summary, which presents the highlights of the study that are shown in detail in the different sections. The executive summary presents the conclusions arrived at on the feasibility of the project. This part is very important. Executives are too busy and usually do not have the time to read a lengthy report, but they would like to pick up the gist of the study and make a quick decision whether the feasibility is worth considering. Next is the project background and history. It discusses the proponents of the project or the owner of the project. This section states the name of the business. It states the form of the organization, whether sole proprietorship, partnership, or corporation. It identifies the location of the business. It may include a brief history of the project. For the third one, we have the industry study. It involves the analysis of threat of new entrants and substitutes and bargaining power of buyers and suppliers as shown in the figure below. The study will determine the intensity of competition within the industry. The industry study will guide you if it is still advisable to go into a business like Jollibee or like the neighborhood sari-sari store. In the diagram, we can see that the business project is being put at the center, and then we have the bargaining power of suppliers, the bargaining power of buyers, the threat of new entrants, and the threat of substitutes. Next is the market study. It consists of market description, demand, supply, statistical analysis of demand and supply, general marketing practices, proposed marketing programs, projected sales, and system design. This part of the study focuses on the four P's of marketing, namely the product, place, promotion, and price. The product is described in its manner of distribution and promotion. And finally, the computation of price. The fifth aspect or part of a feasibility study is the management study. It consists of personnel requirement, management policies, timetable, and system design. It shows the organization chart of the proposed business. It provides job analysis, job description, job specification, and the job classification. So these are the different things that can be found in the management study. This is an illustration of the contents of the management aspect. So at the center, you have the business project, and then you have the salaries and wages, benefits, supervision and administration, system design, Gantt chart, management policies, the human resource management, personnel requirements, job analysis, job specification, job description, and the job classification. And lastly, of course, you have to prepare an organizational chart. The sixth part of the feasibility study is the technical. It consists of the identification of the product, the process of acquiring, processing, and bringing the product to the point of sale. The study covers materials, technology, physical facilities, manpower requirements, cost, and system design. And then for the second to the last part, we have the financial study. It consists of projected balance sheet, projected income statement, projected cash flow over a period of time, usually 5 years. The study shows computations using financial analytical tools like ratios and trends, and the interpretations of the computations arrived at. The study tests the financial health of business. The tests are for liquidity, capital adequacy, profitability, and break-even point. And lastly, we have the socio-economic study. It shows the impact of the project on the personnel, on the community, on the environment, on the government, and other beneficiaries. Considering the legal dimension in all aspects of the study, there are laws and ordinances that must be met. Labels on products are important with manufacturing and expiration dates. Wages and benefits should be mandated by law and for obvious reasons. Projects like fireworks, poultry farm, and hog farm are not allowed to be established in residential areas. Another important topic in this lecture is the writing of the business plan. After working on the preliminary as described in the previous lecture, the plan is now ready to be written. In partnerships or corporations, the plan is submitted to higher officers for approval. In a proprietorship, however, a written plan serves as the reference of the owner in running his business. The actualizing stage begins with the registration of the business with the government agencies that regulate businesses. Non registration of business renders it illegal and subject to closure. Of course, a responsible entrepreneur would want his operation to be in accordance with law. Going through the process of establishing a business legally, morally, and ethically saves you of untold problems and troubles. In the words of a successful entrepreneur, the business plan is the single most important document at the startup stage. A business plan is a written document describing all relevant internal and external elements and strategies for starting a new venture or a new product or a business expansion. It provides a guide and structure to management. The business plan will detail the following: product to be made or traded or service to be rendered, marketing, when, where, to whom the product or service is to be sold, management, organization, employees and officers' position, and job assignment. Finance, financial needs, and where the money will come from and paid to. Next is the operation, how the product will be produced, or how the service will be rendered, or how the merchandise is to be acquired. A written business plan is like a game plan that is both for the current and future years. It is also called a roadmap. It may start as a preliminary plan and evolve to a final plan. The business plan is prepared by the entrepreneur who may consult with accountants, lawyers, engineers, and marketers. They are called consultants. They may be private consultants or government consultants. The entrepreneur, afraid of others stealing his ideas, may keep certain aspects of the top popular favorite remains a secret. Lenders, investors, employers, government, suppliers, and customers all benefit from a business plan. The lender determines the amount of money to lend based on the plan. The investor analyzes it for investment opportunities. Employers use it as guide for operations. Customers determine what products to buy from the business, and suppliers determine what products to sell to the business through the plan. The government set policies guided partly by the plans of business. At the time this lecture is being written, a marketing company was charged with pyramiding. It submitted to SEC or the Securities and Exchange Commission a business plan showing that the questioned activity is not in their plans. So this illustration talks about the process flow of starting a small enterprise. Okay, you have on the right part the actualizing stage, and on the left part, you have the planning stage. Obviously, the first thing that you will be doing is self assessment. And then after that, analyze environmental factors. Next, determine your product or service, decide the form of business. Next is write a business plan. After writing the business plan, you have to register the business. And the next thing that you will be doing is hiring or training of personnel. And then start of operations by the entrepreneur. The business plan may be simple or complex depending upon the product or service. The entrepreneur doing the roadmap gets to see the product and service in detail. Do self assessment, see obstacles, assess cash and other resource requirements. Plans also tell the entrepreneur to go for it or abandon it. It points out the present, the future, and the road that connects the two. It is a selling document, a document for selling ideas to investors. It is a tool that hopes to create interest in the project. The business plan should communicate clearly and effectively the features that are important to the user, who is the reader of the document. It is better to do a feasibility study before doing a business plan. Usually, a business plan has the following parts. Executive summary highlights briefly and convincingly the different sections in the business plan. It supports the conclusion that the business is profitable and that it is worth pursuing. Next is the description of the venture. It provides a complete picture or description of the products, services, and their unique features. Operating plans, on the other hand, gives the detail of how products are to be manufactured. The merchandising plan for a trading business shows in detail how the products are to be acquired. The marketing plan describes market conditions and strategy related to how products and services will be priced, distributed, and promoted. Organizational plan describes the form of ownership and lines of authority and responsibilities of the people in the organization. Financial plans projects financial data that show profitability, liquidity, and stability. Appendices or annexes back up materials that support the text of the business plan. They are mentioned in the text as references. As the business plan has started, operations are compared with the plan. The entrepreneur should find out if actual operation is on schedule or in accordance with planned time. The monitoring should be done within a period shorter than a year, better monthly, or even a shorter period. With the availability and speed of computers, frequent measure of progress may not pose a problem. The entrepreneur should not hesitate to modify, change, or update the plan whenever necessary. Environmental development after the plan has been implemented may call for its updating. At this point, it is important to repeat that goals should be SMART, meaning they should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. How about the contents of a business plan? Of course, we have the cover page in which the following should have to be written: name and address of business, names and addresses of the owners, contact persons, date prepared, statement of confidentiality of report. Another content is the executive summary, 1 to 4 pages, overview of total business plan, highlighting significant points, arousing interest on the part of the reader. Next is the product. Description of products or services and their unique features. After the product, we have the marketing plan. Who the customers are, competition, marketing strategy, competitive edge, and pricing. Next is the organizational plan. It states the form of business organization, identifies management team, investors, their background, their duties and responsibilities. State the plan for employees' recruitment and training. Operating plan explains the process of acquiring and processing products, identifies equipment, physical plant, machinery, and materials. As regards with the financial plan, it specifies financial needs and sources of financing and shows for a 3 to 5 year period pro forma income statement, cash flow projections, pro forma balance sheet, and break-even analysis. And the last content is the appendix. It shows supplementary materials. What are the desirable business practices? After the planning stage, the entrepreneur moves to the next stage. That is the actualizing of the plan. He sets the plan to work. He obtains money. He registers the business with the government offices. He moves to the business location, does the layout, acquires equipment, products, and materials, and hires employees. This is also the one I did when I started my business. Actually, the first thing that I did is I was able to go to the different places of my suppliers. I went to Tagaytay City, I went to Baguio City, I went to Bulacan, I went to Sasmuan, I went to Porac in Pampanga, and different places for me to make acquainted with my future suppliers. And then I was able to establish orders from them so that I will not be running out of products to sell. And then I managed to place an order eventually through the use of telephone. So I was able to contact them, and there is no need for me to go to their place of business just to place different orders of products. Now the entrepreneur is ready to start his business. He does the following: compute costs, determine selling prices, adds markups, subtract markdowns. These steps are guided by desired profit margin and prices that the customers are willing to pay and afford to pay. Next is prepare price tags. The third is makes promotional or advertising materials like brochures, posters, ads for television, radio, magazines, and newspapers. Review purchase orders from customers. Fill up orders of customers by packaging products for delivery. The next one is to prepare delivery receipts, sales invoice for the products to be delivered, and issues official receipts for payments from the customers. Practices courtesy and efficiency in serving customers. And lastly, gets ready to answer and properly handle complaints of customers. This is necessary for you to be able to address and to act immediately whenever a complaint has been received. Okay, so that customers will feel that they are being valued and they place an important role in your business. Otherwise, you cannot be able to tell that there would be a lot of customers if they will be moving out from your store or from your shop. Okay, why? Because competition is so stiff and customers can easily look for one shop or one store to another. That is why it is necessary for you to immediately answer the inquiries, complaints, or the questions made by the customers instantaneously. Okay, so that they will have the repetition in the purchase of the product. Okay, thank you for listening into our lecture. I do hope that you were able to learn something new in this lecture. Thank you and God bless.